Hello, 6 is receiving students and teachers. Thank you. You may be seated. Now, recapping on our previous lesson, can anybody tell me what we looked at in our previous lesson? Receiving students, you can tell your teacher.
Method of filtering.
Again.
Method of filtering.
Very good. Okay, method of filtering. Right, we looked at different methods of filtering. That's true. And we looked at some interesting filtering equipment which we could use. Now, can anyone tell me what we looked at? Name some of the filters that we looked at in our previous lesson. Receiving students, you can tell your teacher. Good, we are thinking. Tahila, what was one of those? What was one of those filters that we looked at in our previous lesson?
Coconut fiber.
Again?
Coconut fiber.
Right, coconut fiber, yes. And there was a particular use used for that coconut fiber, and that was to separate coconut milk and coconut extract or coconut meat from using the fiber. So we can filter that as well. Right. We are still looking at the same strand, substrand, and learning outcome. Our topic for today, everyone together. Our topic for today, everyone together. Separation by magnetism. Thank you. Okay, that's our topic for today. Now, without further ado, we will get straight into our activities. Now, receiving students, I hope you brought along the materials as required. I will call upon the group leaders to come to the front here and collect the materials that we have available. We will be using steel wool. We've got steel wool there. And we will also use scissors. Please, receiving students and class, when you're using scissors, be very careful with the scissors. We will also be using sand. We still have some sand from our previous lesson. So we are going to be using sand also from our previous lesson. Right, those are the things that we're going to be using today. Right, since it's on magnetism, we will be using magnets. Okay, the group leaders collect this. Receiving students, if you got your materials there, very good. Organize that and put it into your groups, then we will say what to do. All right, we've got our activity now on screen and the instructions there. This is what you are going to be basically doing. Okay, one, you collect a small piece of steel wool that is used for cleaning saucepans, a pair of scissors, some sand, and a magnet, and a sheet of paper or plastic. So for the model class, we're going to be using paper. Next, you're going to cut up a small amount of steel wool into small pieces. And then you are going to mix the pieces of steel wool with a little dry sand. Okay, so that's what you are going to do now. All right, instruction number 2, cut up a small amount of steel wool into small pieces. Right, that's what you are supposed to be doing on screen there. So you cut up the steel wool into small pieces.
I fear we have no time, our hearts entwined, our lives resigned to desperate measures of despair. I need to steal away to where the gray cannot take hold, but return us to the tranquil breeze of old.
All right, once you have cut the pieces of steel wool or cut up a small amount of steel wool into small pieces, now you are going to mix that with sand. Number 3, you mix the pieces of steel wool with a little dry sand.
Our hearts entwined, our lives resigned to desperate measures of despair. I need to steal away to where the gray cannot take hold, but return us to the tranquil breeze of old.
together with the sand. It has to be there, and then mix that with the sand. Okay, once you have done that, let us look at instruction number 4. Use a magnet to separate the mixture of steel, wool, and sand. Right, you are going to now use a magnet to separate the mixture of steel wool and sand. How can you separate the mixture of steel wool and sand using a magnet? You try it out, receiving students. You do that also. Right, what you are looking at now on screen is a method of separating the mixture of sand and steel wool. All right, once you have done that, now that you have separated the mixture of steel wool and sand, let us look at our next set of instructions. Right, now you are going to describe your experiment to say what you did and what you found out. So you are going to write that down. Now, class and receiving students, you write down exactly what happened. What did you do? And what did you find out? Describe, now for the activity, describe your experiment to say what you did and what you found out. I will give you 5 minutes to do that.
Staring at the ocean, I
All right, very good. Now let us hear some of the answers from you. Receiving students, you can tell your teacher. Let's hear from some of our friends in the model class. Vanessa.
First we cut the steel wool into tiny pieces, and then we mixed it with the sand, and we wrapped the magnet around the paper, and we separated the magnet, steel wool from the sand.
Very good. Okay, let's hear from Alan. Right, let us hear from Alan.
When we did the experiment, it was hard to stop the steel wool from getting on to the magnet. Even it was put, the sand still got onto the magnet, so the experiment was fun.
The experiment was
Fun.
fun. Okay, it was a fun experiment, but it was the same thing that Vanessa described. Very good. Okay, receiving students and class, we separated steel wool from magnet by putting the magnet over the sand to extract the steel wool away from the sand. Very good. Okay. Okay, you all ready for your summary? Good. Now, this is our summary. We've got 2 points there.
I fear we have no time, our hearts entwined, our lives resigned to desperate measures of despair. I need to steal away to where the gray cannot take hold, but return us to the tranquil greens of old.
All right, by now you should have completed taking down your summary notes. Let us now look at our key phrase for today. Right, our key phrase for today. Very good. And the next lesson topic, getting salt from sea water. That will be our next topic. Materials needed for the next topic. You have the materials there. Right. With that, thank you very much, 6Es and receiving students and teacher.